So there's a plague that comes upon Babylon in one day. And Babylon has a linkage to all the kings of the earth, not the 10 kings, remember? All the kings of the earth, she's riding on them. She has power over them, over the 7 heads. She's riding on them. And she has also a business of merchandising. Okay, she has a business of merchandising. And she will be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judges her. And we go, oh, there you go. God is burning her with fire. No, it doesn't say that, because in the previous chapter it told us that she was burned by fire by the what? By the 10 kings. Okay? By the 10 kings. Now, the kings of the earth who committed fornication, so these are the 7 kings, the 7 heads, who lives luxuriously with her, will weep and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning. So there is a new system of power rising between the beast that previously was ridden by the woman, but now is together with the 10 horns of the 10 kings. So look what happened. Standing at a distance, verse 10, for fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour her judgment has come. Now, question: are these kings of the earth and the merchants of the earth weeping because the Lord is coming? Weeping because it's the end of the world? Why are they weeping? They're weeping because Babylon is collapsing. Notice they're not looking up to see heaven. They're looking at Babylon, and they don't want to stay close because Babylon is crashing down. Verse 11, and the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys their merchandise anymore. So it's a woman that has such a voracious shopping sickness that buys and buys and buys, but when she stops buying, it affects the whole market. When she stops buying, the merchants are crying. They're not crying because the Lord is coming. This is not the falling of Babylon because the Lord is coming. This is the falling of Babylon because the 10 kings despise her and they get rid of her. And the 10 kings, together with the beast, will rule, will cause to worship. The false prophets will come. Now notice. And the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys their merchandise anymore. Merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones and pearls. That's actually called the mining industry. The stock exchange. The price of gold, the price of silver, the price of diamonds. The mining of precious stones. Fine linen and purple, silk and scarlet. That's actually the textile industry. See, that's the textile industry collapses. There's not textile industry anymore because nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying pens. The textile industry also could be the fashion industry. Every kind of citron wood, every kind of object of ivory, every kind of object of the most precious wood, bronze, iron, and marble. Marble you use for your kitchen benches. Guess what? Your wood for your framing of your houses. The building industry collapses. The building in general, the real estate therefore collapses. Real estate collapses. Building collapses. Cinnamon, incense, frankincense oil, and fragrant oil and frankincense. That is called pharmaceutical industry. That is also called the beauty industry. The not moisturizing cream industry. You know, all the pimple acne cream industry, all that collapses. Wine and oil and fine flour and wheat, and cattle and sheep and cattle and sheep. The food industry collapses. Nobody buys food. Nobody, something has happened to the food supply. Everything is collapsing. The oil, the flour, the wheat, the steaks, the chicken, the lamb, the horses and the chariot. The horses of the chariot. The cars stop. There's no petrol. There's no trucks. There's no transportation. There's no planes flying. The transportation industry collapses, and the bodies and souls of men. That could actually be the medical system collapsing, and so the bodies of men are collapsing. The incineration plants are collapsing, and also the religions are collapsing. The ones that play around with the souls of men. Yes, Denise, you got a comment there?
Yeah, are we there right now? Is this it?
Man, the reason why I wanted to tell you this is the following. Babylon doesn't fall at the second coming. Babylon falls and is made desolate by the 10 kings that is still to come with the beast for an hour. It's a new rulership, a new government system, and that's what we're hearing, are we not? That's what we're actually hearing. The stock market is just plummeting down like crazy. You cannot find toilet paper in the shops. Well, let me explain that. You cannot find toilet paper in Australia. You cannot find toilet paper in Spain or Italy or in the UK or in New Zealand. Okay? You cannot find toilet paper in the shops. But in America, you cannot find pistols. It's amazing. It's a little bit a different type of mentality that Americans have with the rest of the world. Over here in Australia, we went for the toilet paper. Over there in America, where we're shutting down, they went for the guns. It's just amazing. They got toilet paper. They just don't have guns to buy. They just empty all the ammunition and they poured out all the guns. It was just amazing. I suppose we different cultures we think differently. Okay, so Denise, you were saying, are we there yet? I don't know, but this is huge. What we're actually facing, and I don't know if you noticed, but in the last 6 weeks, we haven't had any major natural disaster. Have you noticed that? We actually haven't had any major natural disaster.
What about earthquakes? We've had.
Yeah, but they're all minor earthquakes.
Yeah, minor, like rumblings. You don't talk to a Chilean. I'm not a Chilean, but like my wife or my brothers-in-law in Chile, you don't say 5.7 and call it an earthquake to a Chilean. You don't call an earthquake 5.7. I've been on Skype calls with them many times, and they just go, "Oh, what happened there? Oh, we just had an earthquake," and I check it, and they just had like a 6.1. Remember that the biggest earthquake was the Valparaiso earthquake in Chile, and it was 9 point. It was like very high up in over there. So 5.7, yeah, it's an earthquake, but look, I think we're talking about major things. We haven't had it for the last 6 weeks. We haven't had a Katrina. Can you imagine in the situation that we are right now with lockdowns? With the stock market just crashed like that all of a sudden we have like a Katrina or a tsunami like the 2004 tsunami or the tsunami in 2011 in Japan, or like we just had the fires in Australia that were unbelievable, that stopped. Do you imagine something that with that dimension but in 2 places, on 3 places? So a Katrina and a tsunami at the same time. One in the United States and another one in Indonesia. Oh man, or that and the guy from North Korea just all of a sudden he's playing with his Game Boy with with the joystick of his missiles, and he forgets that those things move with his hand, and he just launches it and he hits something. He doesn't hit the ocean. He just hits something. Can you imagine an add up thing to this? If something adds up now, we are already on the verge of a 10-year recession in all single countries. 10-year recessions. We already by now. I spoke with a professor of university in finance and economics. The guy was very, very worried, and he actually told me about 3 weeks ago, we are facing a 10-year recession. If everything goes back to normal tomorrow, that was 3 weeks ago. He said, if everything goes back to normal tomorrow, we're already facing a 10 years recession. And I said, but it's not coming down tomorrow. And he said, it's still 10 years recession. I said, okay, how can that be? If it's not coming back tomorrow, how can it be a 10 years recession? He said, it's just the difference between having a 10% unemployment during those 3 years, during those 10 years, to a 25% unemployment, to a 50% unemployment, to a 95% unemployment. That's the difference. The 10 years are there already. We already have, if nothing happens, we already have 10 years after this tunnel of the coronavirus. We already have 10 years of recession given. But the difference will be how deep we go. If it's a 25% unemployment, 50% unemployment, or 95% unemployment. And he actually mentioned the number 95% unemployment if this continues on. Yesterday, Donald Trump, and I'm saying yesterday at the time in which we're recording this, yesterday, Donald Trump just made an amazing prediction. You know, like that guy, he appeared that he was talking to a funeral, in a funeral service. He actually shows some predictions of the possibility of 240,000 Americans that can actually die from the coronavirus. 240,000. That's unbelievable prediction. I mean, we're looking at 12,000 in Italy, 9,000 in Spain, all together. You know, they might get to 20,000 at the way they're going. They might go to 20,000. He's talking about 240,000 people. That's amazing, and that has to have an impact. And he's saying within the next 2 to 3 weeks, they're expecting that peak within the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's going to be an impact. We've got countries that have no coronavirus epidemic whatsoever. Okay, and I know of countries because I do video conferencing with my business of nutrition consultations and so on. So I got different countries from all over the place. And we got countries with not one single coronavirus case. And guess what? Their hospitals are collapsing. Just plain that one. Their hospitals are collapsing. And they don't have one recorded case. People are just flooding into the hospitals with a cough. They just cough and just flooding into the hospitals. And the hospitals, if it was bad enough. Now, notice this. About 8 months ago, so one of my daughters broke her arm. She fell and actually broke her arm, and it was 8 o'clock at night. I mobilized the arm. I could tell that it was broken. I mobilized the arm, and I said, "Are you okay? Are you comfortable?" Yes. Okay. Go to sleep. In the morning, I'll take you to hospital.